What's up guys, Balmont here. So, The Devil in Me was released a few days ago and is being largely sold as the scariest entry in the Dark Pictures Anthology franchise. However, we live in an era where a game has 2 lines of dialogue and then a lot of people are gonna come along and say, oh my god, best game ever. And that is the main reason why so many people are second guessing themselves about playing this game. Now, I'm gonna tell you right out of the gates, to me, it isn't. Not by a long shot. But maybe it could very well be to you. And I'm gonna tell you all about it, so go ahead, hit the like button, subscribe to this channel, and let's get right to it because I have a lot to say. Let's hit it. The first thing I have to tell you is that the game was largely inspired on H.H. Holmes, the first American serial killer ever to be on record. So much that The Devil in Me's first scene shows a couple during the time that guy lived. You can already guess the newlyweds' fate. Shortly after, the game cuts to modern times, and that is when it really begins. You'll be put in the shoes of a group of people who work in documentaries akin to those seen in the History Channel. Now, the director eventually gets a call with a chance to visit a perfect replica of the serial killer's murder castle. But don't worry, I'm not spoiling big events. As soon as you take control of those characters, you have a lengthy expository section to play, so you understand the dynamics between them, who likes who hates who, and so on and so forth. You also understand the state in which the docuseries they work on currently is. Everything is going to shit. So this is their last-ditch effort to keep the show from sinking. And of course, in classic horror fashion, everything will go 9 ways straight to hell shortly after they arrive at the hotel. And that is where the horror really starts. Now, the gameplay aspect remains largely unchanged from previous entries in the series. There are a few new elements, like keeping your balance so you don't land face first on the ground below, and a mini inventory system. It's all fairly simple to execute. This was an attempt at changing the gameplay just a little bit, while still keeping it familiar. Charlie can use a credit card to open drawers and cash register machines. Aaron can use a directional microphone to detect sounds and situations through walls. Mark can use his camera for situational shots, and so on and so forth. Now, while this certainly isn't groundbreaking, and a lot of the times it feels like it's there just because, this has a minimal intrusion effect on the gameplay. So, you know, it's okay, fine by me. Now, let's talk about the game's atmosphere. They did a good job at creating a macabre and foreboding air around the environment at all times. If you've watched classic horror movies like The Shining, you catch very blatant references here and there. And also, the game's big villain, who's supposedly H.H. Holmes, moves at teleport speed just like Jason. You know the drill, the son of a bitch won't run a single foot, but is always on top of everyone. However, the developers did take the time to show us more details about this particular aspect. I'll leave it at that so I don't spoil things. Now, as many of you have probably seen, this game also references the Saw series. You have those death trap moments where you have to decide who buys the proverbial farm and who gets to live. And following the series tradition, every single decision you make in those critical moments is timed, which makes you even more anxious because apparently there is no good choice that you can make. I said apparently, mind you, and the notion that any character could buy it at any moment if you make one wrong decision will put you in a constant state of tension because the game is directed in a way where you won't know when you can truly relax. An important decision could be just around the corner, and many times it can be deadly. Push can come to shove real quick in some cases, so be on your guard. Now, there's something I recommend that you do should you decide to play The Devil in Me. As you explore its world, you find many types of documents such as files, diaries, newspapers, and such, which will tell you the story of other characters besides the main shooting crew. And I think that's really cool because it adds depth to other characters outside the main character's scope without straying from the obvious goal of paying tribute to classic horror movies. And of course, in true The Dark Pictures Anthology fashion, one bad choice can send everything to hell. I did my best to keep everyone alive and managed to bring out all but one character still breathing. Sorry Aaron, maybe next time. But I did go back and replay a couple of segments and took the shittiest decision possible, and also made sure to watch others playing to see other events, and I saw some really interesting and oftentimes disturbing stuff. Now, I must address a flaw this game has. For a 6.5 hours long game, there isn't much character development, nor are there enough exploratory sequences to make you actually care for those people. Which is a shame, because the potential was surely there. So now, as I always ask, where does that leave us? Well, first off, I'm gonna address the big question, the way the game has been selling itself, the scariest entry in this entire franchise. In my opinion, it isn't, but this game banks on a very specific type of horror, which isn't the scariest out there for me. However, it could be for you, so in the end, if you dig the classic horror movies to which the Devil in Me pays tribute to, then yeah, you could be setting yourself up for a nice experience, even though there is that issue with underdeveloped characters. So that's what I have for today. If you enjoyed this video, then make sure to hit the like button, subscribe to this channel to help us keep on growing, and I'll see you next time. And hey, maybe I'll even make a special series about the Dark Pictures Anthology. What do you say? Let me know in the comments. Balmont out.